Hello, I'm Steve. A little about myself. I'm a retired law enforcement officer with 20 years of service. I began my career in the jail, worked the road, and became an investigator. During my career, my training consisted of everything from SWAT to becoming a state certified crime scene technician. I've investigated crimes from thefts to homicides. After retiring and becoming aware of true crime and web sleuths, I started my channel for web sleuths to better understand the perspectives of law enforcement. Not only do we cover true crime, I go out into the field and assist families who have lost loved ones to homicide and their cases are considered cold. Join me as we look and bring attention to these critical cases. Hello, everyone. I'm glad you're able to join us tonight. A little bit different tonight. I'm on the road, talking to you from a motel room. So y'all just gonna have to with the webcam I'm working on and the computer mic. Um, just bear with me, and we'll get through tonight's presentation. I'm here in Florida. It's kind of a work vacation, multitasking adventure that I'm on. Been doing some consulting and also um, trying to keep up with all my emails and contacting families that have contacted me. And I want to thank everyone for doing that. Um, but if you're new to the channel, thank you for being here. Generally, Mrs. Steve is helping me, but tonight she won't. But I will be going through chat as the show progresses. It'll be a little bit different from what we normally have. That during the presentation, I'll try to keep up with chat, so you just have to deal with that as I try to keep up and multitask. Because Mrs. Steve is absolutely critical to the how the show normally goes versus what will probably go tonight. But I thank everybody being here. And as always, while you're in chat, if you have a question, absolutely put it in there. I'll try to get all the questions as I can, and be respectful to families, mods, and each other, and enjoy your time here tonight. But as we get started here, I'll check in with chat right quick. Wendy Farrell Austin's here. D. Miranda Lee, good to see you. Single mom, true crime. Excellent. Glad you're here. Let's see if I can get this thing scrolling. There we go. Rocky Mountain Woman, good to see you. There's Jill. And 63 Clocks, good to see you. Nicholson, D. Molly, good to see you. So, anyway, what we're going to be talking about tonight, of course, is once again a little update on Kohberger. There's been some interesting developments in the last week. Of course, with the alibi. And then also, we're starting to learn a little bit more about early years of Kohberger as people come forward from his high school days and younger teen years, and certain developments of what we've always suspected that he would have some type of dark background. And it appears that is the case. And so we'll talk about that a little bit, and that from the what one of the counselors at his school said about him, and that now from looking at whatever that event was during his early training and school years, and while he was part of the cadet program during high school, of certain type of complaints and interactions with females that caused him to be ejected out of that. And that from whatever that behavior is, which she didn't go into detail about it and explain what it was, but will that come out? I expect that in the coming days, as more people become aware of this and come forward, we'll probably be getting far more details of what some of those complaints were, and what that behavior was that would have gotten him, as they stated, if it was something that would make you lose a job as a law enforcement officer, it would get you kicked out of the program. So whatever that interaction was, we'll be talking about that. And, because I work with officers that lost their jobs due to a lot of inappropriate behavior, and it happens in law enforcement. There's certain times and there's certain officers that will overstep their bounds, and it happens, and rightly so. But anyway, let me make sure I'm keeping up with chat here. Don't want to get too far behind here. All right. It seems I'm trying to keep up here. Yes, single mom true crime. We're doing really well. Like I said, we kind of do a multitask while we were on this here trip. Um, also, I had text messages with Ruckus today, and also with another with Minds of Monsters. Hopefully, I'll get to meet up with them this week. Karen Edwards, Katrina, 63 Clocks. Good to see you. And Lisa, good to see you. CJK. Uh-oh. This thing flipping back and forth. There's Deb. Good to see you. Props to Mrs. Steve. Absolutely. She's busy all the time. And Gail, it's good to see you. Calamity Colleen. That's a great name. Calamity Colleen. Love it. Rosemary, good to see you. Let's see here. BG is here. Gail Hurd. D. Mead. And see who else is in here. All right. Trying to get caught up. All right. But anyway, as we talk about this case and about Kohberger, if you have any information regarding the homicides of Madison, Kaylee, Ethan, or Zana, absolutely make sure law enforcement has it as court comes up and as the trial proceeds through these early hearings that they have. And do I think that it's going? I think there's going to be some delays in this trial. I know that they're setting these dates and things, but I would be extremely surprised if it does proceed on schedule of what the September dates are. Okay. Single mom of true crime member has been a true crime member for 5 months. Thank you, single mom. Appreciate that. Your support means a lot to us. Lets us go out on the road like we do and assist these families. When we get back next week, I'll be home 1 week before I head into Indiana, and then I'll be heading out to Idaho on some other cases, and we're going to be looking at Dior also. Well, this is good news. Miranda Lee says that she's home from the hospital now, exhausted, but that's good that you're home from the hospital. Hope you're feeling better and soon. Great to hear. Molly has a question here. True Crime Web was a cadet program for law enforcement or JROTC. From my understanding, it was for the law enforcement cadet program that he was seeking that. Now, does that school also offer JROTC, and were they mutual training or parallels? I don't know. It's possible. But I know that they mentioned that if it would have cost him a job in law enforcement, so I took it that it's more along the lines of a law enforcement cadet program. But that's just from what my understanding from reading. JDR, how you doing there? And there's the single mom true crime member for 5 months. Thank you. I forgot my blue light. I have made a blue light, but I forgot to bring it, of course. All right. But anyway, so let's get started in the with the presentation. Of course, this is Brian Kohberger, and the judge has set the deadline for his alibi defense and gave him about 3 weeks to submit evidence for the accused alibi. He plans on using that as a defense. So with this being known that we're going to be set up, and I think it was September the 8th. I think that's what's on this next one. Yes, that Judge John Judge ruled that Brian has until September the 8th to submit witnesses for his alibi. And October 2nd is the start date for that trial. And that currently he's denied a defense a request to stay the proceeding to investigate potential procedural issues with the grand jury. So there's a lot going on during these early hearings and things. But do I think that we're going to be going to trial October 2nd? Man, I will be surprised. I'll be shocked. I don't see how they can with the amount of evidence that will be at this, and it's complex. I know that they're driving towards it because it does put a burden upon the state, but also the courts will keep it in order and keep it fair, that we can't create a situation and overburden the prosecution to the point of that if you're playing a part in creating the storm, that I don't know if that the court will allow that, but we'll see. But I don't think it's going to be going by October the 2nd. But I know that we have a hard line now, and the court said September the 8th. So we should, and I don't think that they're going to have any witnesses other than probably experts as far as the digital cellular data information. I don't think they're going to have someone that just, it will surprise me if they have an individual that stands up and says, I was with him during that critical time period. I don't think that's going to happen. But I do think that they will bring some expert witnesses in that will analyze cellular data and put him somewhere else. That's what I think. Doesn't mean that's going to be what happens, but that's what I think. All right. And but the prosecutor, Bill Thompson, said there is not enough time for the state to prepare for a list of witnesses who may speak about Kohberger's alibi. Like I said, when the defense is trying to stall the trial and then bringing on certain witnesses and things, that I don't think that they're going to be able to say that there's been a violation of a speedy trial due to that. They're part of this confusion, this storm. I don't know. I'm not that familiar at all with how Idaho proceeds with those procedures and those hearings, and how they will proceed past that, other than the court will set these, that if the defense says, well, we asked for a speedy trial and they're not ready, so we have to, I don't think that they're going to allow any type of those issues to interfere with the court trial and the state's ability to seek justice. But the state's position at this point, it says that we will accept the defendant has said that he was driving around. So this alibi that Kohberger always just drives around late at night, and that's his alibi, that he was just out driving, but he was not at that house. And that we're going to have that the state will have to prove that he's at the house rather than just out driving somewhere else. And I understand that. It's a very weak alibi, but the state still has that burden to prove that, okay, he says he's out driving around. The state's going to have to say that, yes, that was him in that white vehicle circling, and during that very narrow window of opportunity, that was him. And, that the state has to overcome some, issues there. And I can see that, because is it plausible he could be out riding around? Absolutely. But that DNA, they're going to have to explain away that DNA at the crime scene that was on that knife sheath. And I don't know if they'll be able to, but we'll see. But they also put in there that they want the court to accept that with an order from this court that prohibits the defense from offering a third-party evidence, whether by direct or cross-examination, in support of the defendant's claiming alibi, which is another burden upon that if the uh, defense wants to come in and says there's a third party defense here that we have, and they're trying to bring in these other DNA and things and possibly other offenders that have been mentioned, that it puts unfounded burden upon the state. And so we'll see what the courts does and how they proceed. It will be extremely interesting, as I've said. Let's see here. But the culpability of a third party is simply that someone other than the defendant for the offense, which the defendant is charged, Kohberger being charged with the homicides of these four victims, that there is someone else instead of him that committed these crimes, and that they have evidence of someone else. Now, of course, the defense has brought up that there is other unknown DNA profiles out there, but we don't have. We're going to probably learn where were those DNA profiles found, what part of the crime scene, how was it processed, was it a mixture of DNA from blood, was it on clothing, was it light switches, was it doorknobs, handles, hair fiber from couches. I don't know where this mixture or this singular DNA profiles from these other individuals was collected, but we're going to find out because that will be part of the court, and the defense will absolutely hammer home every DNA profile that's there. And of course, if the court allows it, and we're just going to have to see if the court's going to allow those other third-party DNA profiles to be brought in or not, and that's what the state is trying to prohibit. I don't know if they'll be able to or not, but we'll see. And we're on the part 2 of it. It says it should be at the earliest reasonable opportunity, and here we are. You know, it ain't the earliest. We're just over a month. What is it? 5-6 weeks out, and this isn't the earliest reasonable opportunity to say third party, and we'll have to see if the defense is going to try to offer it. I expect so, but we'll just have to see what the court says. Okay, let me get back in here to chat before we get too far. Yes. Deb said that she wrote about Al Capone sent to the guidance counter. I don't know what was in that report. I don't think the teacher liked it. Rosemarie says that going into alert mode. All right. Whoop. A little bit off topic, but yes, Mrs. Steve just showed me what do you think of the old Gilgo Beach police chief being arrested in perp walk today? I'm telling you, it's the amount of, and we see this, that what should surprise us now with all these cases as we move forward, some of the dealings that these offenders and law enforcement have clouding the issues. It is absolutely unbelievable, the interactions of some of these people in law enforcement and what they do at times. Makes no sense. But like I said, and I can see your connection of of how this will parallel the law enforcement behavior of this individual, this police chief, and looking at what Kohberger did many years ago, that if he was a police officer, was it going to be something along these lines? I can't argue it's not, because like I said, when we look at the old counselor that went on this podcast and stated that she was a counselor for, and had been doing worked in the mental health services and student discipline programs. That while Kohberger was in that vocational at the school, that he had been received a complaint from several female students lodged against him, and that led to his removal from the school's vocational law enforcement program. And so, what those interactions with those females were, like I said, I think we'll probably find out more about that because, like I said, anytime there's a scent trail put out there, um, it absolutely will come out, and we'll have a far greater understanding of what those interactions with these females were that got him kicked out of that law enforcement program. Let's see here. JDR is here. And 63 clocks. This is a good point, and I'm exactly with you, sir, that you're not surprised, or ma'am, but that you're not surprised about the latest info about the high school events. And I'm not either. And I think that we will probably have other interactions, not only from there, but from his other courses, college courses, and college campuses, that I'm sure there's other interactions, and that we will find out because if it dates back all the way to the high school years, and then we wind up where we're at now, and we see what this most current situation is. And just as the counselor says that she would not elaborate on what he did back then, but when she looks at that occurrence back then and then looks at what has happened, that it makes sense to her, which is absolutely so sad in so many different levels, that we see certain events early on in these individuals' lives, and they progress, and eventually it leads to something that has, it's just a horrible tragedy. Also, I wish I had my blue light, but Brenda Birkenbach gifted a membership. Thank you, Brenda. That's very nice of you. Appreciate that. All right, let me get back into this. Let's see, is any other questions? And I agree with you, single mom, true crime, that this is going to be some huge, big time delays as they move forward. Absolutely. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Orange Marigold, good to see you. Molly says 63 Cox. I don't think it's showing a bias. He has students and professors who have placed complaints against him prior to them knowing he was arrested. And that is a great point. That that his true colors has never changed from what he was originally, and will this be used against him in trial? I believe the prosecutor will try to get every bit of this inside the courtroom at some point. At what stages? Is it going to be during the penalty stages and things? Absolutely. If he is found guilty. Currently, he's innocent until proven guilty, of course. But if he is found guilty and we get to the penalty stages, I think we're going to learn so much about his past behavior that none of us will be shocked. We will. I think we probably will be shocked when we learn certain things that law enforcement knows that we don't know. Where's the portable blue light for you? Well, the portable blue light I left at home for whatever reason. When I was packing, I packed it in my Idaho trip luggage. I had a choice of which one, and for whatever reason, when I packed up for my Florida trip, I didn't pick up that bag. But I do have it ready for my Idaho trip. Oh, man. JDR. Let's see here. And just going through chat, see if we got any more questions here. But I thank everybody being here. And like I said, I apologize for the camera view. And it's not much here behind me tonight, uh, this motel window. Uh, bring the blue light along next time. I am. I'm sorry. Wouldn't you know it? You build something, you put it in the wrong luggage. Miss Siren said, "Did Mr. Steve get a haircut? He's spiffy." Thank you. Appreciate that. Mrs. Steve cut my hair, I think it was last Sunday, Saturday or Sunday. But yes, I did get a haircut. How y'all feel about Judge? Absolutely. I think from what I've seen so far, I don't have any issues with what he's done. And I think that as we move forward, it will continue. And we have to go by, regardless of how we feel as individuals. Will they be times that we absolutely agree with him? I'm sure there will be. And there will probably be times that we disagree. But he's sitting up there interpreting, and as he understands that what precedents have been set in courts and what the rules of law are and how it would be a fair trial. And we have to go by what his judge rulings are, regardless if we agree or not. But I think he's going to do a fine job. It is going, Molly, extremely quickly, and I don't think it is. I think it's going to grind to a halt probably sometime in September. Uh, Absolutely do. The fabulous Mrs. Steve is the barber. Yes, she multitasks continuously. She has a lot of great skill sets. Do you think Kohberger will waive his right to a speedy trial at the last minute? Um, Probably so, or or the courts will say that it's an unfair burden, and that the defense played a part in it, and I do think that the speedy trial part of it will not come to pass. I think the defense will withdraw that. I absolutely do. But then everybody can say, "Ha ha, you was wrong," but we'll see. And yes, Deb, that is critical of this other DNA, and whose DNA is it, and will it be identified by that time? Hopefully so. And but it does, like I said, when the CSI and the lab reports are out there, and where was that DNA collected? What swabs? What part of the residence household was it? Was it on the exterior of the residence, doorknobs, um, doorbells, handles, or was it from within the crime scene? Is it a mixture of the DNA of victims' blood along with someone else's? I just don't know. It may be out there right now, and I just hadn't seen it. Yes, I agree, single mom. October 2nd is an extreme stretch to me. 63 clocks. Bet y'all waffles for dinner. The dude doesn't have a witness for the alleged alibi. I'm, I'm on your side also. I'll back up at waffles for dinner. I'm with you. That's Debbie. October the 6th. I don't see. We're talking about when they were talking about how many terabytes of information it is. That's impossible to get through all that. Although I know that a lot of it is going to be digital, and but still, um, that's still a lot of data. Yes, Molly. Yeah, I agree with you that there's going to be plenty of people DNA, and I'm probably shocked that there's only three unknown DNA profiles. Hello, Matt. Good to see you. Oh, I missed that. Uh, Even the judge said alibi using air quotes. I missed that. I've got to go find that. Thank you. Yeah, get up in. Yeah, and I agree with you that they will want it extended, but they still want the speedy trial, and we'll see what the court does with it. Legally, the alibi has to have a witness, right? You know, um, maybe not a witness, but evidence. Is there evidence that he was elsewhere? And is that what the cellular data will be? I don't know if it requires a potential eyewitness, but I do think it does require that there has to be um, evidence of a cell tower pinging him outside a certain drive time. And do I expect that will happen? Absolutely. Oh, Mike D uh, gave $5. Thank you. Appreciate that, Mike D. My imaginary blue light is clicking on and off right now. It's safely in the storage in Georgia, but it's being clicked on and off. And CJK, I agree. I think that law enforcement will look and see if there's any, and that's the thing, we don't know how much digital camera storage information is out there of how often those cameras and how far back that it hadn't looped over and recorded over, because there's certain storage requirements on some of those cameras. Now, some of the cameras, you can have a 30-day loop. Um, and if you have certain camera systems like Ring, you can have a 3 month loop. I mean, it's just whatever storage you want. Um, I, I think most all the ones I've purchased were 30 days back. Never thought about storing or having the requirements of looking back and having data stored for 6 months. But this case makes me want to rethink my logic that if nothing happens in 30 days, I don't care that my data uh, is looped over and it's gone. But it does make you rethink that logic. That's a good point, Molly. And 63 clocks that sometimes people do when they're upset. They just want to get away from everything. They go out for a drive. But do they do it at 3 or 4 a.m.? Um, I, I understand that. Wait in place. You're late. No, you're not late. You're fine. Demetri, I tried to make a contribution, but it wouldn't let me. Oh, I'm sorry. Like I said, these Google machines sometimes get me sidelined too. But thank you for the effort. Oh yeah, there's a lot of stuff that's off and odd about this case. Not only from the standpoint of the offender, from his past, and but from the defense and how they're approaching this. Um, every time you think that you've seen it all, something else pops up. Yes, thank you, Mike. Uh-oh, this thing jumped again. B Mead says, I guess it was the Google. Yes. Four says, "Hey Steve, hey Spiders, we'll watch the replay. Stopped in to ask who determines what DNA gets processed. I'm fine. I'm fairly certain prosecution doesn't, and I'm fairly certain uh, president of the University of Idaho doesn't. Uh, Law enforcement submits evidence um, to labs, and they submit DNA, blood samples, whatever swabs, collection, pieces, articles of clothing, knife sheaths, whatever they submit, the lab technicians will look at it and analyze certain aspects of it for certain reasons. If a crime scene analyst looks at it and says, hey, this, because it's looking at blood spatter and blood evidence, is that when you go into certain crime scenes, it is just absolutely overwhelming. But you're trained to look at that blood spatter and that blood pattern and analyze it and look at the things that stand out that are not normal parts of what you would expect from certain um, injuries or cast off or a blood trail. You'll see things that are not consistent with the other blood droplets that's in a pattern. The blood droplet may be smaller, it may be larger, it may be a certain distance away from the crime scene of where it shouldn't be um, evidence from the crime scene. So it has to be evidence from an injury potentially by the offender as he's leaving the crime scene, or is he moving from one location within the crime scene to another. And when you're trained in understanding and looking at these blood patterns and you collect these blood stains, you're going to explain, document why that certain stain needs to be tested. The investigators will look at it and they agree. Then, of course, they're put on a certain level of interest, and how important is this one versus another blood stain. And but yeah, it's not easy to uh, qualify and quantify how important each uh, submission of evidence is for DNA. But it all, like I said, it takes a certain amount of training and understanding to work in crime scenes. Um, True crime wave. You think Brian or lawyer or Mix is running defense right now? It's going to be the lawyers. Um, Now they may run by that this is what we're going to do, but I would not expect that Brian is uh, going to be the one that calls the shots. I hope it would be, but I don't believe that's going to be the case. Yeah, the police chief. Yeah, he's bad news. It's going to hurt so many different things about that other case with Rex. Let's see what's going on over here. Um, I haven't looked at all that. I just received some of that information tonight, so I haven't um, uh, uh, looked at everything yet. um, yes, during the heat of the summer, this is my favorite cut as far as haircuts. Um Now, in law enforcement, I kept this probably, it never got much longer than what this is. But during the heat of the summer, this is what I go with. And like I said, when I was in law enforcement, this was my typical haircut. And I will tell Mrs. Steve, great job. And of course, with Rex and the cross contamination, they'll look at those victims and that timeline and where was she at, and how could that possibly occurred. There's a lot of different ways you can have cross contamination, and some of it's easy to explain, some of it's not. We'll just have to see how that goes. Hello, Sharon Edwards. Good to see you. Had it come out he has done other crimes, it appears that they handled it in-house in the school. If we're talking about Kohberger and whatever he committed that would have gotten him thrown out, that makes sense. That if you could get fired for it, and was it harassment or was it something else? Um, and of course, I'm sure that they're going to go back and look at that, and there may be some critiquing of was it mishandled way back then. We'll just have to see um, if that's true or not. Steve, how are you able to have the job that you had for years and still be a positive person and believe in people? Uh, well, I've, I've always believed in the people, the good people. I only my interactions were that when I went to a family that had been victimized by these bad people, the criminals that prey upon the good people. Um, and there's far more good people in our society than there is evil. But evil can cause such a large jump, and that when you look at the scales and balance of things, just one or two evil acts will outweigh all the good that is in the society, and we see that time and time again. And so um, I enjoyed my career of focusing on those evil acts and persons and seeing justice for the majority, because our society, majority wise, is good people. Um, if not, then of course, I, uh, you know, I could see where um, uh, you would see that being so easy just to give up on society. But I understand that there's far more good in our society than there is evil. And I enjoyed finding that evil. I enjoyed interacting with that evil. They didn't enjoy it, but I enjoyed it. If that makes sense to y'all. Yes, there is a TV on in the background. I'm sorry. Status quo. That's a good point. I believe Kohlberg will have to establish validity for his new rationale, um, um, and for simply driving around before his team can bring in third party. That's a good point. Well stated. Oh, that's thinking outside the box, Jocelyn. Steve, you have a blue shirt on. Just stand up and spin around when we need a blue light. Do you think they will have Brian evaluated for mental disorders? Um, I'm sure that they have discussed that already. I don't know if they. Yeah, I knew who you meant, Demead, but I'm sure that evaluations and looking at that has been discussed by the defense. You need more than one portable blue light. Yeah, I'm beginning to agree with that. Yeah, I proved it on my first trip after creating it. Oh, okay. This is interesting. Rumor has it he's waiving speedy trial rights tomorrow. That's interesting. Thank you. All right. Let me do some mentioning here that Thistle Do Nicely has been a member for 11 months. Thank you. Um, and we got I Gotta Know was $2. Status Quo, $2. Bama Sin, $2. Thank y'all for all y'all support. It means a lot to us. Appreciate that. Like I said, I'll be using that on our future trips, and I'll have my blue light with me next time so I can give you the right recognition that Mrs. Steve does. Oh me, I just saw something. Oh me, Mike D says, "Here's a few rounds for your travels, Hornady." Oh, if y'all don't know, Hornady is a maker of ammunition, few rounds. That's clever, clever. Tom in says his alibi has more holes than my fishing net. Thank you for being here, Tom. Appreciate all that you do out there, uh, and your assistance means so much to so many of these families. Thank you. I will 63 clocks. That is a great idea. I'll get with Mrs. Steve about the blue light icon. She's over there now, I, and I just, so I will do that. Absolutely great. Yes, I gotta know he has until September the 8th on that alibi. But then when I think it's just going to be that he's out riding. Tommy Spark, you think with all the driving around BK did, law enforcement could have any tire evidence? I think they were collecting that tire marks that was out in front of the residence. And if those tire marks are from his vehicle, because tire compounds are unique, and even tire compounds on every vehicle, because they change as you drive them. And if and they, hopefully they recovered the vehicle within certain time frame that those compounds would be matching what the tires were exposed to pre-crime and post-crime, and that they'll analyze those compounds and see is there certain characteristics that they can identify and is it unique to Kohberger's vehicle from those compounds of the tire marks in front of the residence. I just don't know what evidence they have and how what they're going to submit, but there is that possibility from the CSI side of aspects of things. Yes. Do you think there would be a last minute plea to get the death penalty off the table? Yes, I absolutely do so. They say no victim DNA in his car or apartment. What about the dog DNA? I think that if that dog DNA was in there, that the defense wouldn't have made that broad statement. That's Triple S. Good point. Good question too. Uh, yes, just that tonight I only have this one computer, and so Mrs. Steve chose not to be a part of the show tonight, and so we were. This is all I had to work off of, and so there was no need for her to participate. We didn't have enough cameras. Um, like I said, I forgot so much on this trip. It's packed in another box. I gotta know $2 waffle dollars. Thank you. That's cute. Oh me, rabbit heart. Oh yeah, I just go out and drive at 3 a.m. and randomly drop K-bar knife sheaths in people's beds. Uh, what what a great dark, what a great sense that you have, and that's what that's how ridiculous I believe, and how it would be perceived by the jury, exactly as Rabbit Heart put it there. And someone on the jury said, "Oh yeah, I can see one juror bringing that up to another, and almost that exact verbiage." Do you think it's possible Shannon called 911? That it's possible she may have seen Bert? He lived close in that area. I don't know. Like I said, I hadn't checked into all that yet, but I will. I got a waffle and I got a side of grits. Thank you. That's very sweet. Y'all looking out for me now. Give me the full menu. Now that's Brian uh, uh, during the when he was a cadet. From my understanding, that's him doing his calisthenics. I guess I can go to something else. Because later on one of his job apps, he put in there that, or in a letter written, that he understood that if he did not resign, um, that he has the right to a school board hearing to determine if he should be dismissed from employment in the school district. This was as he was um, a security guard after he had lost his ability or lost his program um, of the cadet program. And we get caught back up here. Um, I wonder why he didn't use strangulation versus the other to keep things quiet. Um, you know, when we're talking about psychopaths and uh, manners of death, it's whatever their fantasies are. That if it is using an edged weapon, they're going to use an edged weapon. If it's strangulation, it's going to be strangulation. If it's blunt force, it's going to be blunt force. It's whatever drives each of these individuals' fantasies, um, and because that's all that it is about them. It has nothing else to do but their narcissistic self fulfillment of what makes them feel good. Nothing other than that. Uh, yeah, what do you think of him being arrested today? Like I said, that is interesting information. I'm looking forward to getting caught up. Yeah. Um, thank you, Peyton Place says, thank you for the answer. It's nice to be reminded of the good in the world. Absolutely. And get caught up here. Yeah. Yeah. If the tracks match the tire pattern, or if even the compounds, like I said, there's a lot of different things. You know, it's almost like the compound uniqueness is almost like the DNA of the tire. So hopefully they'll be able to do that. Oh, 63 o'clock, $50 for the Idaho trip on Dior. Thank you. Appreciate that. That means a lot. Absolutely will use that. And it says, we don't have Waffle Houses here in the West. Last chance on the way is Iowa. Um, I will make that drive. It's very nice of you, 63 clocks, and I wish I had my blue light. Haley, shoot. Thank you, Steve, for what you do and your adorable giggle. Thank you. Let's see here. Try and get caught up here. Jonathan Ray says that the Black Bear Diner is all traditional American food. It's good. It's all over the West. I look forward to that. I'll look that up. Thank you, Gail. Appreciate your super sticker, $3. Appreciate that. Aaron Boardman, good to see you. Gail said that's for bug spray. Actually, I already purchased that. Like I said, I've got everything packed almost so that I'm only going to be home for a week after I get through here meeting with some people down here in Florida. And then I'll be home for a few days, not quite a week. And then I'll be heading out Labor Day, going up to Indiana and then heading west. All righty, guys. I want to thank everyone for being here. I want to thank everybody for your donation, generosity, and we appreciate everybody. Your support. It allows us to go out and do a lot of things we wouldn't be able to do without you. And thank y'all for being here. And I will get back with y'all um, hopefully next day or so. And y'all stay safe out there, and we'll see y'all soon. Appreciate y'all. Thank Mods.